Yep. Inside, I want to kill myself. We are on an 0-7 run over the last 2 days. After tonight was just complete bullshit. So that's how I'm going to start off this show. Horrible Sunday, 1-5. I don't even know what to tell you about that. I just don't want to do this anymore. I have never seen anything like this, man. With the slump continuing, 2 straight losses, not a good day at all. 0-4. I just have not had a good season, man. What kind of slump that I'm on? The slump continues. I've reached a new peak, actually. I'm going to burn my Bruins hat, man. I don't know what is going on with the Bruins. March 8th, is that what it is? I don't even know. It's March 9th, I think. Who even knows, man? I don't know what day it is anymore. I don't even know what day it is anymore, man. Back with you after the worst day that I could possibly have. Back with you, as I always am. Until I die, at least. 0-2 yesterday, and yesterday did not go well for me. 0-5. The worst month that I've ever had in my 18 years doing this. I don't know what to even tell you about this anymore. Broke the slump yesterday as the slump discontinues. The slump continues. Somebody fucking kill me, please. I don't even know what I should do at this point other than potentially end it all. What's up, everybody? It's Toad back with you. Toadstool Sports. It is Thursday, March 5th. I think I basically foreshadowed what was going to happen last night on the show where I was like, we'll have a winning day if Colorado State wins outright. And that is what happened. So I gave you guys an outright winner with Colorado State as the underdog. Easy, no sweat winner there on that one. They were winning outright wire to wire, I think. Very easy win with that one. But Old Dominion can get fucked pretty much. They just put themselves out of the game. I mean, it was close throughout the first half. They were just losing by a few points the whole time. They put themselves in like a 10-point hole later in the game. They clawed out of it. They almost covered. They hit a 3. I think they hit a 3 in the final minute or something to cut it to 2. But at that point, you knew they were going to intentionally foul. So you knew that they weren't going to cover that. And they did. And the guy who they fouled, apparently, his name's Spud Webb. That brings me back. He's not like 5'3" and dunking over everybody, though, or 5'4", or whatever he was. And he's got an extra D in his name. He missed the first free throw, too, so it's like, stop teasing me, Spud. But then, obviously, he made the second one, and then it was a 3-point game. Old Dominion did attempt a 3. That was the only hope at that point. That missed, and then they actually fouled again with, 0.1 second left or something. Yeah, great. And then one more free throw was made after that. Whatever. It was a very slight winning day. I mean, fine. We move on to today. We'll talk about today. I'm being really, really selective here. I have 2 college basketball plays, and that's all I have today. And neither of them are in the conference tournament. So I have a couple of regular season situations that I really like. They're both sandwich spots. So that's what we're doing. We're going sandwiches only today, man. We're going to talk about the conference tournament games because that's what I do. I'm going to try to make this not take that long. And I'm going to switch it up, and I'm going to start with the conference tournament talk because a lot of these games start earlier. I could have done it yesterday, although, of course, my show ended very much in time anyway. But let's do it anyway, man. So 4:30 p.m., the Missouri Valley kicks off with their opening round. With a couple of, maybe I should bring up all the conference tournament brackets while I talk about it. I don't know. Drake and Southern Illinois is the first game up. One of the opening round games. They're bottom, however many teams that got into the tournament. I think all the teams besides the top 5 or so are playing in the Missouri Valley opening round here. Now, I've been talking about this matchup. I've been talking about how Southern Illinois is underrated. Drake kind of has the name recognition right now because they made the tournament 2 of the last 3 years or something like that, or maybe 2 in a row. Might be 3 out of the last 4 or something. But they're not the same team this year because Ben McCollum, they weren't the same team last year because they had the DeVries era, which then they just completely reloaded with the McCollum era last year. Now he's at Iowa, and we're going to talk about Iowa in a bit as well because they're playing tonight. But now Drake is a different team again entirely this year. They're nowhere near as good. Southern Illinois is one of the better defenses in the Missouri Valley, and they're, I think, a very underrated team. So I look at this game, and I'm like, yeah, Southern Illinois should win the game. They are the better team. If you look at what happened during the regular season, they did, I believe they split the season series. Yeah, so interestingly, the road team won each game during the regular season. Most recently, Southern Illinois did win at Drake. So there might be a little bit of like an adjustment angle here for Drake. Like maybe Drake could make the adjustments here. The other thing I look at that I don't love is that Southern Illinois won 4 games in a row to finish the season. And then the conference tournament kind of becomes like a reset. Like you do not want to have days off when you're on a roll like that. I think it could hurt your momentum. So I don't think that's great for Southern Illinois, but I think they should get the win, especially Southern Illinois. You know, they're more of a defensive team. I don't believe they play fast, so that should translate a little bit better to something like this. Actually, I'm wrong. They do. They do play fast. So they are a very unlucky team, though. Bottom 20 in KenPom's luck index. They're a top 30 defense. But I worry more about the teams that rely on, like, finesse offense and stuff like that to get the job done. I worry more that having time off makes those teams rusty more so than, like, defensive teams. So maybe there isn't as much of a concern here. But Drake lost a ton of games in a row to end the regular season. So from that respect, like, kind of nobody's going to want Drake, I don't think, because of that. Southern Illinois is a heavily public side, 92% of the tickets and only 90% of the cash. They dropped from a 5.5 point favorite to a 5-point favorite. I would probably take the points with Drake in this one, but I think Southern Illinois, if they get their bearings and they get through this game and they win this game, they could be a little bit dangerous in this tournament. But this is a tricky spot, man, to have to come off of rest like that could disrupt your momentum. So from a momentum angle and the fact that Drake most recently lost at home to Southern Illinois, those angles kind of point to Drake a little bit here. So that's what I'll say about that. The other Missouri Valley games, let me see. I wish they structured this a little bit differently, although I think I can change it to just Missouri Valley. There you go. Indiana State and Valpo are playing. This is kind of an ugly game. These two teams, they're bad. Every team in the Missouri Valley makes the conference tournament here. This is, there's only one, like the two decent teams or good teams that are playing today are Northern Iowa and Southern Illinois. Northern Iowa is actually very legit. Very unfortunate for them that they have to play in this opening round here and have to play an extra game. I mean, Northern Iowa is so much better than, like, Evansville, who they are playing against today, by the way. It's just, I don't know, it's a little bit of a joke. But Valpo and Indiana State, these two teams both suck. I believe Valpo won both games, but both games were close. I dug into the box score, and Valpo was kind of the better team in both games. They barely won both games, though. And remember, all these games are neutral location. They're all in St. Louis, so take from that what you want. I guess maybe some of these Illinois schools might be a little bit closer than some of these other schools to St. Louis, though. I don't think it matters that much. Indiana State, Valpo. I'm going to lean to Valpo slightly. I do think they are the better team, and I think they kind of consider themselves to be the little brother in the state of Indiana. They're usually not good at all. And after Indiana State was good for the last few seasons, I think it might be time for Valpo to, kind of get something against them, though I know it is double revenge for Indiana State here, but both games were close, and I just don't think Indiana State's a better team, as the odds makers will tell you, because Valpo's a 2.5-point favorite. 54% of the tickets, 72% of the cash on Valpo. I don't disagree with Valpo in that game. And then we have Evansville and Northern Iowa. Like I said, Northern Iowa is easily the better team here. Like, this game, if they don't win this game, I don't know what to tell you. They don't have any excuse for not winning this game. They beat Evansville both times this year, but they did not cover this number in one of the two. They won by 14 on the road, and they won by 16 at home, I think. Is that what it was? So that would be my concern, because the line is, like, right in that range. It's like 15 today. So the odds makers know what they're doing. I don't think I would want to lay the points with Northern Iowa because they notoriously play really slow and they're extremely good on defense, but they're not good on offense. So I think they should win the game. They're the way, way better team here, but covering a massive double-digit spread is a different ask. Now, Northern Iowa did finish the season with 1 win. I think that's fine. Evansville, the Purple Aces, coming into this losing a lot of games down the stretch. They lost 5 of their last 6. So, yeah, maybe having some time off will help them with their momentum, whatever. But the extra time off, I think, doesn't hurt a team like Northern Iowa hardly at all because they play slow. They don't rely on, like, offensive timing, really. They just rely on playing lockdown defense and playing slow. So that team having time off, I don't think it's going to affect them, really. The money is coming into Northern Iowa. They're up to a 15.5-point favorite, but the total is 125.5. 67% of tickets, 73% of the cash on Northern Iowa. I mean, maybe it's a game where you go, like, Evansville under their team total, maybe, something like that. I mean, even that might be kind of cutting it close, though. I don't know what their team total is posted in this game. For those of you that have books that even give you a team total option. Some of the books do, some don't. But I don't think I would lay it, though. I think Northern Iowa absolutely should win this game, but I would probably lean against them covering just because that number is so big. It wouldn't shock me if they did, though. I mean, it's a complete mismatch in that game, so it would shock me if Northern Iowa lost that game. Like, I think they have a chance to make a run in this tournament. I think this game, they should use it as like a tune-up, get through the game, don't go all out in this game, save something for the next game in the tournament, and maybe that's how they look at it too. So I would be pretty wary of laying the points in that one. But, yeah, I think they should win, obviously. All right. Garrett, what's up? Yeah, fuck you. Dude, the Hornets are not better than the Celtics. It's one fucking regular season game, and the Celtics did not have Jason Tatum. The Celtics are basically just rolling out, like, random players every night, and they're still the better team. I don't give a shit. The Hornets are going to make the play-in tournament, probably get through it, and then they're going to, like, lose to the Detroit Pistons in, like, 5 games. So have fun watching that. Kyle, what's up? Thanks for hanging out. All right. What are we doing? Oh, yeah, Sun Belt is next. All right, yeah. Get to the Sun Belt here. We have 2 games in the Sun Belt, as usual, because of the fucking wide bracket that they have there. It's always 2 games. I'm still pissed because Georgia Southern got through that first game. They're not going to make it through tonight, though. I would be shocked. James Madison and Southern Miss is the first game up for the Sun Belt, though, at 6 p.m. James Madison was involved in the earlier of the matchups last night as well. James Madison got the win. It was, expected. Louisiana sucks. Easy win for James Madison. Now, I think this setup is actually good for James Madison because I actually think they're the better team over Southern Miss, and they have momentum now. And, I talk about that. When a team has 1 game under their belt, they only had to play 1 game so far. Oh, but it's a back-to-back. They don't have any rest. Yeah, I know. But they had rest before that game. You know what I'm saying? When a team's played like 1, maybe 2 games in the tournament, they got some momentum in. I think it's an advantage against a team that has not played yet in the tournament. James Madison has their bearings. They played. I think the Sun Belt always plays here in Pensacola, and I know Pensacola is closer to Southern Miss. I get that. James Madison's coming in from Virginia, but they have the momentum. They're the better team, and they played last night, played an easy game, got the win. They got used to the venue, so I think there are definitely some advantages to James Madison here. Southern Miss, I don't think they're as good of a team. These 2 teams wound up tied in the standings, but Southern Miss had the tiebreaker, I guess. I guess because they beat James Madison. Yes, they did. I think they only played once. Southern Miss beat James Madison by 8 at home. So there is a little bit of a revenge aspect here for James Madison. Again, not really revenge because obviously both teams, this is the tournament, man. So these teams don't need any more motivation. They're trying to win the conference tournament here. But there are still aspects of that where it's like, well, James Madison is the team that can make the adjustments, right? Like, if you're Southern Miss, you already beat this team. You know what you did right, but you don't really have things that you can fix necessarily that went wrong because you won the game. So, yeah, for all those reasons, I do like James Madison in this game. The money seemed like it was disagreeing with me. Now it doesn't seem like it is. They did drop from 2 to 1.5, but 67% of tickets, 95% of the cash on James Madison. So the money does look like it's agreeing with me on James Madison. I would money line them in this game. I don't know how close I would say that is to being a play for me. I mean, I tend to, I tread pretty lightly with a lot of these conference tournaments because I look for, like, really good setups here. This is a pretty decent setup, though, I would say, when you have the better team with the advantage of having played the previous night, which I thought we had that with Old Dominion last night, even though Old Dominion was actually an underdog. I thought they were the better team. They were not the better team last night, though. That was a close game statistically. But anyway, yes, I like James Madison in that game. Georgia Southern and Arkansas State. Arkansas State absolutely screwed by the Sun Belt setup as they wound up the bottom team in the 6-way tie for second place, which made them the 7 seed. So they have to play tonight, which is ridiculous. But they're the best team power rating-wise in the Sun Belt. Now, the setup here kind of sucks for them because Georgia Southern has a game under their belt in the tournament now. So they have that edge that I talked about with James Madison, although their game is a little bit more close. James Madison had like a cakewalk game last night, which is good because, you like tune up, you get your bearings. Georgia Southern got into kind of an intense game last night. It was the later game, but this is the later game tonight as well because they do that intentionally, of course. The team that played later is going to play later again the next night. Now, Georgia Southern, I still think they're an overrated team. I don't think they're that good. They got by Old Dominion. I do not really think they're going to beat Arkansas State. They did lose to Arkansas State by 17 at home earlier this year. So, yeah, there is, I guess, the road reversal angle, whatever you want to call it, where Georgia Southern might be able to come up with something, change some things that went wrong in that game. Now, I think if you do anything with Georgia Southern in this game, you'd want to look towards playing them in like the first half or something like that, because I think that's where the location edge shows itself. You know what I mean? Like Arkansas State could come into this a little bit rusty. Georgia Southern played last night. They're not going to be totally tired out yet. You know what I mean? Because you get that surge of energy at the beginning of the game. Georgia Southern's already accustomed to the venue, so you might see Georgia Southern look better earlier in this game. But I do think Arkansas State will take over and win the game. But again, you got to worry about Arkansas State winning their last 4 games, then having a break coming into this. It could disrupt their momentum, like I said. So Georgia Southern might have a good early part of this game. I do think Arkansas State will wind up winning the game. Laying the points, though, is kind of a different story here. They're a 7.5-point favorite, up from 6.5. The money looks like it is kind of coming in on Arkansas State. 80% of the tickets, 88% of the cash on Arkansas State. I would probably lean towards taking the points, unfortunately, in this one, even though I want to see Arkansas State get their due and make a run here. They're kind of a fun team to watch, but they play fast. So the problem is, Arkansas State should be good, for a couple of games in the tournament, assuming they get through this one and whatever. But, if they try to make a run here and try to play 5 games in 5 days or something, that's not good for a team that goes real fast. They're going to run out of energy, you know what I mean? That's the problem with a team like that. But, yes, they are the better team. Georgia Southern is not as good as their record looks. Their record doesn't even look that good. So that's probably all I have to say about that. All right. I guess we're going to go to the MAAC. Sacred Heart and Iona. I talked about this in my video last night when I talked about the MAAC tournament bracket. So their tournament starts tonight as well, with two of their opening round games between the lesser teams that made the tournament. The MAAC drops their bottom 3 teams out of the tournament. So these are the lower 4 teams that made the tournament. Now, I said Iona is the better of these 2 teams. Indeed, they are. They are the favorite here. These are neutral location games in Atlantic City, New Jersey, which I guess maybe is better for Iona slightly because they're a New York team. I think they are somewhere north of New York City. I don't even know. Now, Iona did play Sacred Heart once this year. I believe they won. Yes, they did. They won by 12 on the road. So I guess you could make the argument that there is that adjustment angle there for Sacred Heart. They might be able to make some adjustments and play better this time on a neutral. Iona did win their last 2 games, so maybe they have a little bit of a momentum stopping here. But I still kind of like Iona here. They are the better team. Sacred Heart coming into this, they did win their final game as well. I don't really see much of a momentum angle in this one. The money is slightly coming in on Iona. They're a 3.5-point favorite, up from 3, although they are a public side, kind of. I don't know how much of the public is really coming in and playing this game, though, in the Metro Atlantic Conference. 71% of tickets, 75% of the cash on Iona. Yeah, I'll agree with Iona slightly. I do think they get by that game, and I think they should. I think Iona is a somewhat dangerous team to make some noise in this conference tournament. It seems like a lot of times they do. They are just typically one of the better teams in this conference, so I don't know. We'll see, man. They do have that history, but they don't have Richard Pitino. Was it Richard or was it Rick who was the coach? It might have been Rick Pitino was coaching. I forget. I think it might have been Rick Pitino. I don't know. Some Pitino was their coach for a while.
Yeah, inside, I want to kill myself.
I think it was Rick, actually, because Richard Pitino, I get them confused with Minnesota because they have the same colors. Richard Pitino was the coach of Minnesota before he went to New Mexico, I think. All right. And now he's at Xavier, I believe. All right, and then Manhattan and Fairfield is the other MAAC game later at night. This game, I don't know. There's not much that really interests me about this game. Fairfield is in Connecticut. Manhattan, of course, is in Manhattan. I think they play in, northern. They might even actually play in the Bronx. I forget. No, that would be stupid. I doubt that. But I think they're in, northern Manhattan. Fairfield did lose their last game pretty badly, but it ended a 3-game losing streak, so that's not exactly great. That could still be a momentum stopper. Manhattan lost 3 games in a row to end the season against decent teams, though. Marist, St. Peter's, Iona. So, they're having that momentum stopped might be good for Manhattan. And Manhattan did lose to Fairfield this year badly. On the road, they lost by 36 most recently to Fairfield. So Fairfield might take Manhattan a little bit lightly, man. That was a crazy outlier of a game. I think Manhattan shot horribly in the game. They did play twice, actually, this year. And Manhattan actually won the first game at home. But you kind of remember what you did last, you know what I mean? That's what sticks in everybody's mind, and that was just such an embarrassing blowout. I think you will see a good effort out of Manhattan in this one. People are going to look at the records and want Fairfield here probably, and yes, they are the better team. Fairfield did have the way better record here, but I would probably lean towards taking the points with Manhattan in this one. Fairfield is a 6-point favorite. 50% of the tickets, 69% of the cash on Manhattan. So some of the money for now is agreeing with me, but you got to, kind of take these early morning percentages with a grain of salt, though. That's why I like the situational handicapping, because a lot of times the market will just come into line with me later, which did happen with Colorado State last night, by the way. The market read on that one finished very strongly, indicating on Colorado State. Not so much with the other game, which happened to be my loser. Although Georgia Southern was kind of a public side, though. But they did still wind up with more of the cash. Anyway, again, take it with a grain of salt. But my read on this would be leaning towards taking the points in Manhattan. It looks like something absolutely nobody's going to want to do. So I would lean towards Manhattan covering in that one. All right. We got a lot of conference tournament games that we're talking about early, man. I know I skipped the MEAC game that's at 5 p.m., which I will talk about, but I'm doing all the conference tournament stuff first. All right. Summit League is up next, which gets into action at 7 p.m. Eastern. Now, we did have that one game last night. Kansas City, they're just horrible, dude. Oral Roberts absolutely destroyed them last night. I expected a better performance from Kansas City, but God, are they awful. Oral Roberts got the win, so Oral Roberts does have some momentum. They got a game under their belt. They're playing in the same venue here, which is in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. So Oral Roberts does have that advantage, I guess, the fact that they played last night, had an easy win. Now they got to face North Dakota State, who is the 1 seed. North Dakota State beat them. Did they only play once during the regular season? North Dakota State absolutely manhandled them by 28 points, the one game that I see that they played this year. I thought mostly teams in this conference pretty much played everybody twice, but it looks like they only played once. So anyway, North Dakota State, they're coming into this potentially rusty. Although lucky for them, they lost to St. Thomas towards the end of the season. That was a game, North Dakota State, they'd wrapped up the 1 seed pretty early, so they really came into some of these games and just didn't put in a massive effort. I don't think mostly that one against St. Thomas. They did turn it around and absolutely destroy North Dakota in the final game. North Dakota is kind of a fraud 3 seed in this tournament. North Dakota State got the win to finish the season. Now, they do have extra time off that might not be great for them because they did finish the season pretty hot. They should win the game. They're obviously the way, way better team here, but I might lean towards Oral Roberts plus the points. North Dakota State's an 11.5-point favorite, up from 9.5. I kind of expected them to be a heavier favorite than that, but total is low in the 140s. I'm not expecting a ton of points to be scored in this game. I'd probably lean towards taking the points with Oral Roberts. I mean, North Dakota State had it way too easy against them the first time, but of course it wouldn't shock me if North Dakota State wins this game easily, and they should obviously win. But I would probably lean towards taking the points if you're going to ask for, my side opinion on that, but not a strong opinion at all. South Dakota State and St. Thomas is the other game tonight. So the 1 and 2 seeds for the Summit are both in action tonight. And then I think the 3 and 4 seeds are playing their games tomorrow. Because, the Summit, I think they only play at night. They only come out at night. So I think they don't play games in the afternoon, so they only have 2 games at most every night instead of 4. That's just how they do it. It's a small tournament, though, so they can get the tournament done in a few days anyway. South Dakota State, as I told you, they're a pretty undervalued team, I think, underrated team. Their record looks awful, but they're usually one of the better teams in the Summit, and they're the 3rd best team, according to Ken Palm's rankings, in this conference, even though there is a huge gap between, you have North Dakota State and St. Thomas, both really good at the top, and then everybody else after that. But South Dakota State is not as bad as people think they are. They had a bad loss to end the season. They lost their most recent game by 15 at home to St. Thomas, so they might have a little bit of a bounce back here after that, too. I think that was the only time they played them twice. They actually only lost by 5 at St. Thomas. So South Dakota State put in a good effort in the game at St. Thomas. And I believe if you combine the 2 games, I think South Dakota State was the better rebounding team out of the 2. I think they didn't lose the rebounding battle in either game, actually. You can check me if I'm wrong about that. Even in the 15-point loss, I think they won the rebound battle. They did by 6. So there are some things to kind of like about South Dakota State here, man. They're under the radar. They're not as bad as people think they are. The last time they played St. Thomas, they took a pretty bad loss that was a little bit misleading at home. Now, St. Thomas is definitely good. They can definitely shoot the ball. They're decent on defense. They're good. They're debatably the best team in the conference, but I just don't like how this sets up for them in this first game. They're coming into this possibly having their end-of-season momentum killed a little bit as they won their last 2 games. I would probably lean towards taking the points with South Dakota State. St. Thomas is a 6-point favorite. They should win. They are the better team, but this is a more difficult game. They have a more difficult opponent here than North Dakota State does. There's no question about that. So, yeah, it's interesting. But, yeah, I would lean to South Dakota State there. Plus the points, of course. All right. We do have the American East continuing. Man, this is going to take me a while to talk about all these conference games. The top American East teams get into action tonight. We do, I believe, have multiple, or not American East, what am I saying? Patriot League. My apologies. Patriot League has 4 games tonight, but the way they do it is all the games get played at the same time, kind of like the Northeast Conference last night, where we saw some crazy stuff in the Northeast Conference last night. Long Island didn't look good, but they did get the win. Central Connecticut went down immediately against Wagner, but I told you Central Connecticut was not actually the second-best team. Mercyhurst got their first conference tournament win as a Division I school ever, so it's a big celebration there. Lemoyne, I think, they were not able to do the same thing. I think they lost again to Stonehill. So some crazy stuff going on in that conference tournament last night. But I told you I kind of liked Mercyhurst in that conference. Some reasons to like them. So we'll see how far they can go, baby. And I was wrong about Oakland. I apologize. Oakland, close game last night, and they lost to Northern Kentucky. I did say Northern Kentucky, that was going to be a difficult game that they had to get through. And then if they got through that, I liked them to make a run in that tournament. But Northern Kentucky, not a bad team, and they got the win last night in the Horizon. Interesting stuff going on there, man. All right. But yes, so Holy Cross and Lehigh are playing each other. Lehigh, I think, is kind of a false 2 seed in this conference. I do not think that they're very good. I think that they're, in fact, worse than Colgate, American, and BU. I think Ken Baum's rankings bear that out. So Lehigh, not very good. Now, teams having a game under their belt, it does help. Like Holy Cross already won a game. Bucknell already won a game. But the thing is, I don't know if it's as good as like some of these other conferences you're playing in the same venue, right? So you turn around and you just play in the same venue again. You're used to the venue. This is not what's happening here. Like Holy Cross just pulled off an upset at Lafayette, and now they have to go to Lehigh. So I think they're staying in Pennsylvania, but you do have to travel, so you have to get used to another venue, so it's not quite as good. But yes, Holy Cross does have a game under their belt. Maybe that will help them, but they did pull off kind of an unexpected upset against Lafayette. I didn't think they would win that game. They did. Now they're going to Lehigh. Holy Cross and Lehigh split the season series with the home team winning each game. Nothing crazy about that, really. But maybe Holy Cross will ride some of that momentum into this. I don't think Lehigh is very good. As the 2 seed, I think it's kind of ridiculous that they're the 2 seed. Having extra time off could hurt their momentum because they won 3 games in a row at the end of the season. Lehigh is a 7-point favorite here. Total's pretty low in the 140s. I would probably lean towards taking the points with Holy Cross, but you're going to be asking them. I mean, they only need to cover those. They don't need to pull off 2 straight upsets just to cover. And it is a tournament environment. So sometimes you will see that team kind of ride that momentum a little bit. And it was kind of a mild upset at Lafayette. So, yeah, I mean, I'll lean with the momentum with Holy Cross, but I don't have much on that one. Loyola Maryland is playing at Colgate. Colgate, I think, is still the second best team in this conference. I know they finished way behind Navy. Navy is definitely the best team in this conference. Colgate, after they lost that really close game to Navy, it looks like they pretty much packed it in for the rest of the season. They did not have any good games for the remainder of the season. But conference tournament time is like a reset, man. You do bad at the end of the season, all right. Well, now you get some time off. You can forget about that, end that losing momentum. So I do think Colgate will come into this with a better appearance this time. They're playing at home, and the last time they played at home against Loyola Maryland, which was only 3 games ago, Colgate almost lost the game. It was a ridiculous overtime game where they won barely. So I think they're going to remember that and probably take Loyola Maryland more seriously this time. And they actually played them kind of close on the road the first game too, which I guess you could argue that means, well, Loyola Maryland matches up okay against them. I would probably lean towards Colgate here, though. Loyola Maryland did finish the season ending their losing streak with a 1 win, which I think is a good thing because that kind of ends your losing momentum still there. Colgate is up from a 6.5-point favorite to a 7-point favorite. I do think Colgate is more legit than Lehigh is. I would probably lay it with Colgate in this one, especially after they got a scare in this exact same matchup a few games ago. It would be Colgate for me in that one. The most interesting of these games is American at Boston University. These 2 teams are both really close power ratings-wise. I think American is actually the somewhat better team, though, and they're getting some points here because they are on the road because they wound up the 5 seed versus the 4. And even more interestingly, these teams played in the final game of the regular season, and American lost at home. So there is a little bit of a road revenge angle here because now they go out on the road and play the team that just beat them at home. So I think you might see like a zigzag type of thing here, kind of like in the NBA playoffs or whatever, although both teams are going to show up. There's not going to be any lack of motivation here because this is a one and done. scenario, you know what I mean? It's an elimination tournament. These teams did play close both games. American did actually win at Boston University early in the season by 2, and in that most recent game, they lost by 3. So these two teams do seem closely matched against each other. BU ended the season on a really hot streak. They were the hottest team in the conference, except for Navy. They won like 7 of their last 8 games or something. So that momentum could be disrupted a little bit by not playing for a few days. So I would lean to American in this game. BU is down from 3 to 2 now. You're still getting a couple of points with American here. I think they might make some adjustments after that loss they just took at home to end the season. So BU spoiled their, senior day or whatever, I guess is probably what that was. Now American has the chance to eliminate them from the tournament in their place and spoil their season completely. So, yeah, I kind of lean towards American in that one. And then we do have Bucknell and Navy. Navy is a huge favorite here. Bucknell, usually they're one of the better teams in this conference, but they are not this year. Now, they do have momentum. They did just beat Army. It wasn't a game that took a lot of effort or anything like that. Bucknell does now have to travel to Navy for this, but they do have some momentum, so they were able to play more recently, get that win, which I think does help you having that momentum. And Navy could have their momentum a little bit stalled out because they have not lost since they lost to American way earlier in conference play, which was their only conference loss. So Navy, if you're Navy and you're rolling like this, you do not want to have a break like this. So that could hurt Navy a little bit. And Navy is more of a defensive team than an offensive team. So I would actually probably lean towards taking the points with Bucknell here. We have a really low total in the 130s. Navy should win the game, but they're a 16-point favorite. It already dropped from 17.5. Luckily, this isn't football, so it did not go through a key number. I would probably lean towards taking the points. 75% of tickets, 59% of the cash on Navy. So the money is indicating on Bucknell a little bit in that one. All right, let's keep this going, man. We're going to have another long video here, but we don't have a ton of NHL and NBA today, though. I think like 8 or 9 games each. And I'm going to roll through those quickly because I don't really have much of an opinion on those games. Yeah, I'm fucking mad. It's the fucking Celtics. What do you want? You think I'm not a hardcore Celtics fan? No. Normally I'm fine with the Hornets getting back to the playoffs. Yeah, whatever. That's kind of cool. I'm not fucking happy about the Celtics at all. The Celtics are not going to do anything this year. They need to get Tatum back, and then I think there's the chance they can make some noise in the playoffs. But I'm getting fucking concerned because it's probably either going to be, I think it might be Cleveland that wins the East at this point, which pisses me off. Although I still think the Thunder are going to win the whole thing again. Let me see here. What do we have next? We got Ohio Valley. Let's talk about the Ohio Valley next. A lot of conference tournament action today, man. Eastern Illinois pulled off the kind of ridiculous upset last night against SIU Edwardsville. It went into overtime, too. They were pretty substantial underdogs here. They were, actually only 3.5. It dropped from 5.5 to 3.5. So some money did come in on Eastern Illinois in that one. I'm pretty shocked because Eastern Illinois is a terrible team, really. SIU Edwardsville is definitely better than Eastern Illinois. Now, Eastern Illinois, they do have momentum here, and they played in the same venue. So this whole tournament is in Tennessee somewhere, I think. It is in, it's in Evansville, Indiana, my mistake. If it was in Tennessee, UT Martin might have a little bit more of a location edge. It's in Evansville, which is actually better for this conference because I don't think any of the teams are particularly close to Evansville. Not SIU Edwardsville, which is in southern Illinois. Anyway, Eastern Illinois, they're coming into this game. Well, I guess southern Indiana is probably close, but they're so bad they didn't even make the tournament. Eastern Illinois actually probably shouldn't have even made the tournament. They somehow had the tiebreaker against Tennessee Tech, who is actually better than Eastern Illinois, I think, and Eastern Illinois made it anyway. And they proved the haters wrong, I guess, by beating Southern Illinois Edwardsville last night, but that could have been kind of a flash in the pan, man. It was such a big win, a big game for them because this team is usually such a doormat in this conference. The question is how much are they going to have left? Like, yes, they do have momentum. Yes, they're familiar with the venue, but they played an overtime game last night. Now they got to play a legit team in the conference, UT Martin, who is a little bit better than SIU Edwardsville. And one of the best couple teams in the conference, actually, UT Martin. I still think it's them and Tennessee State at the top of the conference. I think UT Martin probably is going to get the win here. Like that type of win that Eastern Illinois had last night can take a lot out of you. They're going to try to get up for this game, but UT Martin might come into this game with a lot of intensity because they were pretty bad down the stretch, and they finished the season with a horrific final home game, losing by 25 to Tennessee State and only scored 42 points. And when that happens, I know UT Martin's not great on the offensive side of things, but when you do that, I think you're going to show up with some more effort in that next game. So, yeah, I kind of think UT Martin does get the job done in this game. They are up to an 8-point favorite now, though, with a total absurdly low at 121.5. I don't think I would lay it, man. I mean, if you force me to give you an opinion on it, I guess I would say lay the points with UT Martin, but I can't lay 8 points with a 121.5 total. No way. 75% of tickets, 98% of the cash on UT Martin. So the money looks like it is coming in on them for now. Lost a little bit of value, 6.5, a lot more appealing because now it's through that key number 7. I just don't know if Eastern Illinois has a whole lot left in the tank, although a lot of times you'll see those teams like, they get on a run and they just have that momentum and they just keep riding that wave. I don't know if Eastern Illinois will be able to do that, though. We'll see, I guess. But, yeah, I think UT Martin probably does at least get the win in that game. So maybe you could use them as like a money line parlay piece or something like that. You know me, I don't love parlays. Eastern Illinois under their team total is an option, but actually UT Martin over their team total might be the better option, even though they don't score that well. They're coming off a game where they scored 42 points, man. So you got to think their focus is going to be on scoring more in this one. And by the way, I was correct about the over in the Stanford Notre Dame game last night. So my read, when I have a stronger opinion on these totals, they're coming through, and I didn't do it, so I'm not happy about that. I'm happy that I was right, but, anyway, the second game is Lindenwood and SEMO, Southeast Missouri State. These games all in the same venue, like I said, in Evansville, I'm pretty sure. Lindenwood won last night against Little Rock. I thought Little Rock might get the job done, but Little Rock they're one of the teams in this conference that takes a ton of threes. So they're really high variance, and it was not working out for them for the most part last night. Lindenwood got the job done. Lindenwood, pretty new to Division I, so I think it's kind of a new experience for them to get, like, tournament wins here. But they're running into a pretty legit SEMO team here. Now, SEMO, of course, is the team without momentum here. Lindenwood does have the momentum. They are used to the venue, so, yes, that is an advantage. SEMO won 4 of their last 5, so they did finish the season hot. But they lost. Luckily for them, they lost their second to last game, so maybe they won't quite have like a momentum disruptor here, not having played the last couple of games, or not the last couple of days, I should say. SEMO, I mean, it was a lot more tempting to just play them on the money line when they were -1 favorite here, but now they're already up to 3.5. So I think the legit money is coming in on SEMO in this game, and they are the better team, so I don't really disagree with this. 75% of tickets, 97% of the cash on SEMO. I mean, we'll see what happens here, but yeah, I kind of lean towards SEMO here. I forgot to look at what the previous meetings looked like. SEMO beat Lindenwood. On the road team actually won both games, interestingly. So they split the season series 1-1, and the road team won both. But the more recent win was SEMO winning at Lindenwood. So maybe Lindenwood does have some of the adjustments to make. I'm not going to put too much weight into that, though. And then UT Martin against Eastern Illinois did beat them, I think, at least once. Yeah, they beat them twice. Although UT Martin didn't do well against them at home. They barely got by them. And then they did play a bit better against them on the road and beat them by more on the road. But Eastern Illinois was pretty competitive against them in both games, so something to keep in mind in that one. UT Martin was not able to beat them by 8 in either game, so that is something to keep in mind. That's another reason to not really want to lay the points there, even though I said I lean that way. I'm not going to do it. And then in the Patriot League, I forgot to call out like what these teams did, in their other games against, Bucknell and Navy, I think was the only one I forgot to call out what they did against each other. But, of course, Navy beat Bucknell twice. I mean, we obviously know that because their only conference loss was to American. And Navy did play Bucknell twice, and they beat them twice. Nothing to really see there, nothing unexpected. All right. Rest of the conference tournament stuff, most of this stuff is not conference tournament. So we have regular season action still going on today in the MEAC, the SWAC, the American. These are all regular season games. Big Ten, Conference USA, that's all regular season. Those teams start their conference tournaments later. The WAC is still regular season as well. And the Big West is regular season as well. So, all right, I think I went through all the conference tournament stuff, right? You can let me know if I missed any, but I think that was all the conference tournament stuff. And then, yeah, I think I got it all done. All right, regular season. Both of my actual games are in the regular season matchups. We do have an ESPN U game between South Carolina State and North Carolina Central. I don't know why this gets a TV spot. I guess because it's at 5 p.m. and there's not a whole lot else going on. But the Missouri Valley Conference action is going to be the better thing to watch. I'm sorry. And the Sun Belt probably. Sorry to the MEAC, but, I rarely have plays like in the MEAC and the SWAC. It's just, they're the bottom tier conferences. They're just really difficult to handicap. South Carolina State did just get a win against Delaware State, but they're playing a third straight road game now. And they did just beat North Carolina Central at home by 13, even though I believe North Carolina Central is the way better team. NC Central, they're coming back home finally, and the last time they were at home, they barely got by Morgan State, who's, I know they're near the top of the conference, but they're actually not that good. I would probably lean to NC Central here, man. I think they are the better team. The last time they played South Carolina State, they got embarrassed. Final home game for NC Central. These teams are both, I think, still kind of playing for seeding in the MEAC for whatever that's worth in their conference tournament. NC Central's an 8-point favorite. I think they might have been almost an 8-point favorite on the road when they lost, so you might actually even be getting some line value in this one. Let me see. No, they're only 2.5 on the road. My mistake. But, yeah, I would probably lay it with NC Central in that one, but not a strong opinion at all for me in that one. All right. The other regular season games of interest, Howard and Norfolk State in the MEAC is interesting because these two teams are I think they're the two best teams in the conference, although Morgan State, being a fraud, is in there between the two in the conference standings. But this game does have implications on the conference standings here. Norfolk State did just lose to Morgan State on the road somehow, even though Morgan State, yep, they're still fraudulent. Howard crushed Morgan State in the game before that, so I think the setup probably wasn't that good for Norfolk State in that one. I think Norfolk State, well, they'd come off a, lackluster win against Coppin State, but they did have Howard on deck. So, I don't know. Maybe they overlooked Morgan State, even though Morgan State's above them in the standings. I don't know. I don't know what happened in that game. They shouldn't have, because Morgan State beat them at home. So, Norfolk State did not do well against Morgan State for whatever reason. Howard had crushed Morgan State in the game before that, though. So I think Morgan State was looking for a bounce back after an embarrassing loss. So they came out with some intensity. Now, people are going to look at this and say, well, Norfolk State lost to Morgan State and Howard annihilated Morgan State. So, of course, Howard's going to win this game by a ton, right? I don't know. Howard beat Norfolk State already at Howard by 28 points. Howard is the better team. There's no question about that. Howard is the best team in this conference by a significant margin, actually. Howard is on a huge win streak. They've won 5 games in a row. But I don't know, man. This is the last game, I think, for both teams. And for Norfolk State, it is a home game for them. It's their final home game. So for what that's worth, you usually step it up for your final home game. I'm going to lean towards Norfolk State, man. They have the chance to prevent Howard from wrapping up the conference regular season title here. If Howard loses, I think it depends on what Morgan State is going to do in their final game, I think, as far as who's going to win the conference. Howard is a 5-point favorite here, 50% of the tickets there, but 90% of the cash on Norfolk State. So the money coming in on Norfolk State. I'm not going to disagree with Norfolk State there. Like I said, I would lean towards taking the points with them. And it's, not a very high total in the 140s. ESPN 2 at 7 p.m. has Tulane and Temple. ESPN Tulane. This is a game between two teams that I just don't think are that good, and they have kind of both fallen off in the American standings here. But they're still playing for, conference seeding. I don't know if any of these teams get dropped from the conference tournament. I think these teams will both get in, but they're they're playing for seeding and whatever. Tulane did beat Temple by 11 at home already. So maybe there's a little bit of a revenge angle for Temple here. Tulane does finish the season with their final home game against Memphis, so maybe a little bit of a look ahead, even though Memphis is playing awful right now. Tulane did lose their last games in blowouts, though, against Tulsa and South Florida. Now, those are the best two teams in this conference, but you don't want to lose in horrific blowouts like that. So maybe they will still show up for this game. For Temple, Temple's on a horrible losing streak themselves, though. They've lost 6 straight, including losing at home as a favorite to Rice, and they're staying at home here. And while, yes, they do have Tulsa on deck, this is a revenge game for Temple. This is their final home game. The team that started their long losing streak was Tulane, so I think Temple is going to show up for all those reasons and probably not be looking ahead to Tulsa here. So I would lean to Temple in this one. Believe it or not, they're a 5-point favorite. Who's going to want to lay 5 points with a team that's lost 6 in a row and that has the worst record? You know what I mean? But the odds makers are telling you Tulane is still quite overrated, and I'm not going to really disagree. 73% of tickets, 90% of the cash on Temple. I agree. If I was going to play the game, I would lay it with Temple. The other game in the American that does get a TV spot on ESPNU, not ESPNU Lane, at 7 p.m. is Tulsa and East Carolina. Oh, boy. So we have a legit team against a not legit team. Tulsa's on a 3-game win streak here. Possible that they overlook East Carolina, I guess. I don't think they've played them at all this year. But East Carolina, not a good team. Second straight road game. Tulsa's coming off some pretty satisfying wins where they put up 100 points against UTSA, and then they put up 90 in 2 pretty much blowout wins. That one against Tulane. So, maybe Tulsa comes into this a little bit cocky. They got Temple on deck in their home finale. A Temple team that I believe they also have not played this year. So there's no revenge angle or anything like that there. East Carolina, this is their final home game. You got to think they probably will get up for this game because it's against one of the top teams in the conference. But they did just beat Memphis at home, which is a nice upset win, I believe, for East Carolina at home. So, you're asking them to put in another big effort 2 games in a row. I would probably still lean that way towards taking the points with East Carolina. Tulsa dropped from 10.5 to 9.5 here. 77% of the tickets and 80% of the cash on Tulsa, but they're a public side. I don't put that much stock into a 3% difference there between the ticket count and cash count there. I would probably take the points with East Carolina, but not a strong opinion for me at all. Louisiana Tech at Liberty. I considered playing Louisiana Tech in this one. Liberty, they've already wrapped up the Conference USA 1 seed, so they really don't have anything to play for except, well, it's not even their final home game. So they're coming off kind of a bad performance against Jacksonville State, but they did end their 2-game losing streak. So Liberty did at least end their losing streak, but you know how Liberty rolls, man. They keep constantly playing these close games. So I'm probably expecting this to be another close one. And they do have Sam Houston on deck in their home finale. So Liberty might look ahead to that because that's going to be their final home game. They might want to test themselves against the team that's likely to be the 2 seed in the CUSA. And really the main threat to them in this conference is Sam Houston. And that is who they play to finish the season. Although they did beat Sam Houston once by 8 on the road. But I don't see them paying a lot of attention to La Tech here, man, when Liberty has really nothing to play for here. I think that Sam Houston game is bigger, and Liberty already won at Louisiana Tech by 16 points, so they really might not pay much attention to them here. La Tech, I think, actually has the better defense here, too, believe it or not. Liberty is more of an offensive team. La Tech is coming off a loss at home. In their home finale, they lost to Florida International. Maybe they were looking ahead to Liberty here. I think you will get an effort out of La Tech. The money's coming in on Liberty, but there's no way that I would lay the points with Liberty and a team that plays all these close games, and they have already wrapped up the 1 seed, and this is not their final home game. Like, why would you lay points with Liberty? I would not agree with that at all. I would take the points with La Tech. This is close to making my card. 65% of the tickets on La Tech. I doubt that that's accurate. Like, there's no way the public is playing La Tech in this game. Liberty, 95% of the cash. Yeah, I don't know. We might see those percentages shift around, man, because I don't buy it. CBS Sports actually is televising Sam Houston's game at Delaware. And this doesn't look like an interesting game, but it could be. Sam Houston, I believe they are still trying to clinch the 2 seed in the Conference USA. I think they're still vulnerable to Western Kentucky, I believe, because they did lose once to Western Kentucky. So Western Kentucky might have the tiebreaker. They split the season series. So Sam Houston is playing for clinching the 2 seed. The problem is they're on a nice 5-game run here, but they're going to Delaware, who sucks. They already beat Delaware once at home by 12, and look who Sam Houston has on deck. I already told you who they have on deck, Liberty. They got to go to Liberty, and Sam Houston, by the way, is coming off winning their home finale, I should say, against Missouri State. So, yeah, this could be a major look ahead potentially to Liberty, man. I mean, everybody kind of knows Sam Houston is playing for the 2 seed here, and they're laying points on the road for that reason. I would lean towards Delaware in this one, man. Sam Houston might be looking ahead to that Liberty game. Sam Houston will be a threat in this conference tournament. There's no doubt about it. But in this spot, I would take the points with Delaware. Sam Houston's a 7.5-point favorite. We don't really see the percentages yet, but I think they're going to be a public side too, and the public might play it because it is a TV game and they want some TV action, although this might get overshadowed by the conference tournament action and stuff. Bethune-Cookman and Florida A&M in the SWAC. Bethune-Cookman already ran away with the 1 seed here, so they really don't have anything to play for here. They're already 4 games ahead of their next 4 nearest competitors in the SWAC, so Bethune-Cookman is already the 1 seed in this conference tournament, so they don't have anything to play for. They did just beat Southern, who is one of the main threats to them, I think, even though Florida A&M, who they're playing tonight, is actually tied with Southern in that second place spot there, but Southern is the better of those teams, and Bethune-Cookman did just beat them on the road. Now they're playing a 3rd straight road game. They're playing a Florida A&M team they already beat at home, although they only beat them by 4. So I guess they might take Florida A&M seriously for that reason, but I would have to lean to Florida A&M here, man. Bethune-Cookman doesn't have anything left to play for, really. They're already the 1 seed here. Florida A&M is still playing in that 4-way tie there. They have the chance at the 2 seed. They're going to show up for a game against the top seed in the conference, man. They're back at home for this home finale. I would lean to Florida A&M in that one. Somewhat close to being a play for me. I considered it, even though the SWAC is not something that I usually dabble in. Bethune-Cookman up to 2.5, -2.5 on the road. There's no way that I would lay points with them in a spot where they just might have no motivation. All right, next up is my first actual play. I actually love this spot. You're going to think dude, nobody's going to like this play. You're going to think I'm insane, but this is what I do, man. Grow a pair of balls, baby, and this is what we're going to do. We're going to play Iowa +9 against Michigan. Oh, yeah. This is what we're doing, baby. I think this might be the best play on the board. This is on Peacock at 8 p.m. Eastern. Michigan, number 3 in the country. I think they might be the best team in the country still. Dude, people are kind of talking about Duke and Arizona now, and I'm thinking Michigan might wind up being my champion pick in brackets, but we'll see. Michigan, look at what they're coming off of, man. They just went on the road and beat Illinois handily. That is not easy to do, man. That is a really nice win for Michigan against a team that was a projected 2 seed. Illinois is a very legit team, man. They're really good. It's just Illinois, they're not a good defensive team. You know who is a good defensive team, though? Yeah, that'd be Iowa. Iowa's more of a balanced team, though. But, yeah, I mean, Illinois is just more imbalanced, and they're just good on offense, not good on defense. But huge win for Michigan. And who does Michigan have to finish the season at home? Even though they did already beat them once, they have their rival, Michigan State, who's up to 8th in the country, man, on deck. So, yeah, and that's their final home game. Yeah, this is a major sandwich spot here, man. They're playing Iowa. I don't believe they played Iowa this year at all. Iowa is sneaky, man. They're very well coached. They're a Ben McCollum team. They slow the game way down, which is not what Michigan wants. Even though Illinois is kind of a slow-paced team, they're kind of, I don't know, Jekyll and Hyde, where sometimes they will play fast. Now, Iowa, I know their defense is actually not as good as Illinois'. They're just not as good of a team, but Iowa's just much more balanced is what I meant. Like, they're not focused on one or the other. They're a very balanced team. Ken Baum has them 23rd in the country, by the way, so he has Iowa as being very overlooked right now. They're a top 25 team, according to him. They're unlucky, according to Ken Baum, at 270 in luck, whereas Michigan's 114. So Michigan's overperformed a bit, according to Ken Baum. Iowa has underperformed fairly significantly. And like I said, Iowa is one of the slowest 10 teams in the country, and that is not what Michigan wants. And, actually, I'm going to hesitate to want Michigan as a champion because they play too fast. They're 15th in the country in tempo. That worries me, man. I don't want to have to take Duke. I don't want to have to do it. I don't know. We'll see what happens, what the brackets look like. Michigan, I just think these fast tempo teams just lose steam by the end of a long tournament like that. Although you do get breaks in between like the toughest games are the second of those back-to-back where you have to play like a game 2 days after you just played. You know what I mean? Anyway, I'm rambling. Michigan likes to play really, really fast, and Iowa I don't think is going to let them. Now, I know Michigan will try to speed it up. Michigan is the better team here, but it's easier to slow the game down, and it's easier to do something about the pace when you're at home. I think Iowa might be able to do that. Might frustrate Michigan, but this gets even better because you're going to get an all-out effort from Iowa because not only is this against Michigan, which is a huge deal, but it's a TV game. It's Iowa's final home game of the season, so the crowd is going to be rowdy. And Iowa just lost to Penn State. Nobody is going to want Iowa. That was a horrific loss against Penn State. Penn State is god-awful. That was a horrible loss for Iowa over the weekend, and that's what Iowa's coming off of. You're going to get a massive effort out of a team that just lost a game like that. And they were coming off of a nice home win against Ohio State, and they had Michigan and Nebraska on deck. So that was a horrible spot for Iowa in that one. I don't know why I didn't give up Penn State as a play. I think maybe Penn State had something going on with their spot. Yeah, Penn State, I don't know. I should have given it out, actually. I don't know why I didn't. Maybe I just didn't consider the win over Ohio State to be that big, I guess. But, yeah, Iowa was in a massive look-ahead spot there. And look at what Iowa's done at home, man. They beat Nebraska at home. That's pretty good. They played Illinois to within 6 points at home, beat UCLA at home. They're going to be a tournament team. They've won most of their conference home games. Let me see. What is their conference home record? I know they beat a lot of bad teams, though. They beat Maryland. So that's 2-0, 2-1 with that loss to Illinois. 3-1, but Rutgers sucks. 4-1, USC, whatever. 5-1, beating Northwestern. 6-2, sorry, because they lost to Purdue. 6-2, 7-2 in conference play. Iowa is 7-2 straight up at home. Although, yes, obviously Michigan is the best team they'll face at home. But they did play both Nebraska and Illinois to within this margin at home. Lost to Purdue, but Purdue's a slow-paced team that's just better than Iowa. So I think that's kind of what happened there. I believe Nebraska plays faster. No, actually, Nebraska plays pretty slow. I don't know, man. I'm used to Nebraska and Illinois both being faster-paced teams just because they've kind of changed their identity, which is weird. Anyway, I'm rambling. We're taking Iowa. I think it's a great spot to do it. The money is agreeing with me on this. 70% of the tickets on Michigan, 50-50 on the cash. Looks like the line is 8.5 now. I mean, not a huge difference between 8.5 and 9. Find the best number that you can on it. I mean, Michigan, they should be a public side, so this number should really not drop that much, I wouldn't expect. But, yeah, that's where we're going with that. We're going to Iowa. Fox Sports 1 at 8 p.m. We have Rutgers at Michigan State. I think I forgot to handicap this game, actually, when I was looking at the games this morning. I don't think I see a whole lot here. Well, here's the thing. Rutgers just ended a losing streak. They'll get up for a game against Michigan State, but Rutgers just won on the road against Maryland, but now you're going to be asking them to put in a huge effort as a road underdog twice in a row. They're playing a fourth road game in 5 games, and the problem is Michigan State might take Rutgers seriously because they almost lost to Rutgers on the road, man. Rutgers took them into overtime when they played at Rutgers. Although, part of the reason why that happened was because Michigan State had Michigan on deck, and they were probably looking ahead to that. And who does Michigan State have on deck this time? Oh, yeah, they have Michigan on deck again. So they play Rutgers again in the game before they have to play Michigan. So, yeah, that might not be great for Michigan State. Michigan State's coming off some pretty nice wins, rolling against UCLA, barely getting by Ohio State, beating Purdue, though. Nice win there on the road. And then a nice road win over Indiana in what I thought was going to be a spot. I gave out Indiana as a play. I thought Indiana was going to put in a big effort in that one, and they didn't. So, even though Michigan State almost lost to Rutgers before, I still think the move here would be to take the points with Rutgers. Michigan State's a 20-point favorite here. That's kind of ridiculous. I think they were probably about 12.5 in the road game against Rutgers. Let me see. What were they on the road? I think this line has moved kind of too much towards Michigan State. Let me see. The line at Rutgers was 14.5, so I guess this line isn't that crazy. But still, Michigan State, 73% of tickets, 86% of the cash on them. So they are taking some of the money right now. But we know Michigan State plays slow. They're not going to want to really put in a full game worth of effort when they have Michigan on deck. So Michigan State might want to just get in, get out of this game. Even though Rutgers did almost beat them before. It's a low total in the 140s. I still think I would lean towards taking the points with Rutgers there, but I don't really want it. All right. Let's see here. What else we got going on here? I already talked about the conference tournament games, so we got all that done. Let's see here. Oh, no, I forgot. I forgot a couple of the tournament games. My mistake. There are some late-night tournament games, or at least there are 2 in the West Coast Conference. My mistake. Good thing I caught it. Let's look at the West Coast, man. So you get a little bit of extra tournament action here in the late-night slate. The West Coast Conference has that long, bracket as well, though at least it's not as long as the Sun Belt. But the lesser teams are going to be playing in this one. Pepperdine and Portland and San Diego and Loyola Marymount are playing. Now, Pepperdine, very strangely, actually beat Portland both times this year, even though I think Portland is actually the better team. Pepperdine actually beat them twice, by 4 at home and on the road by 8. But that was pretty recent, and maybe Portland will finally make some adjustments here, man. Portland is still the better team, although I kind of think the public might actually kind of like Portland here because, that's the team that beat Gonzaga. They must be the better team. But, in fact, I think they are the better team. They only finished the season by busting their 4-game losing streak with a win. So I think that actually might be a good thing for Portland. Pepperdine finished the season with 1 win as well. So that's all right as well. But I think I would lean to Portland to finally get over the hump and beat Pepperdine. The money's coming in on Pepperdine, though. Portland down from 3.5 to 3 here. 57% of tickets, 66% of the cash on Pepperdine. I don't know, man. I think Portland might be able to make the adjustments and finally get it done. They are the better team, which the odds makers are telling you. I think the money coming in on Pepperdine, maybe kind of fading that, Portland beat Gonzaga sentiment. I don't know. I don't want anything to do with the game, but I think the better team might finally get the job done there. And then San Diego is at Loyola Marymount, not at Loyola Marymount. These games are all in Vegas at the Orleans, so these are all neutral site locations here. Location-wise, I guess Pepperdine is closer to Vegas. Now, the tournament being in Vegas might have more of an impact on the teams that are newer to this conference because they're not used to it as much. But that doesn't apply to any of these teams today. These teams are all they've all been in this conference for a long time. San Diego and Loyola Marymount, both California teams, whatever. San Diego lost 4 games to end the season, including losing to Loyola Marymount. They lost both games to Loyola Marymount on the season, on the road by 20 and at home by 12. Now, Loyola Marymount is the better team, but maybe they take San Diego a little bit lightly for that reason. Loyola Marymount finished the season with a tougher game against Seattle. This is a tough call. I mean, I know Loyola Marymount's the better team. I would probably lean towards taking the points, though. Loyola Marymount down from 6.5 to 5.5 here. I mean, we have seen some somewhat weird upsets in the early rounds of this West Coast Conference where, it's just teams that are all kind of not that great that are all playing against each other. I guess I'd probably lean with the market movement there towards taking the points, but I don't have much of a feel for that game at all. So that's that game there. All right, ESPN 2 at 9 p.m. This game I think is actually kind of interesting. South Florida at Memphis. Will Memphis finally look like what they're supposed to be? I don't know, man. I think Penny Hardaway's getting fired. He's obviously not a good coach, which I've been saying for quite a while, but this is just a really, really bad season for Memphis. 6 losses in a row. I mean, this could be the final straw. The fact they just lost to a horrible East Carolina team. I mean, at least their other losses were to reasonably decent teams, but I mean, come on, man. This is going to be their final home game. It's a TV game. It's against the top team in the conference. They already lost by 21 on the road to South Florida. So if Memphis is going to give you an effort to do anything at this point, it's got to be in this game, man. South Florida, they're close to wrapping up the 1 seed in the American. They haven't quite done it yet. Wichita State is actually closest to them, and then Tulsa, even though I think Tulsa is the second best team. South Florida's on a roll right now. They do have a lot of momentum, 7 wins in a row, but they just absolutely obliterated Tulane. And because they already killed Memphis once, I just don't know if they're really going to put that much stock into this Memphis game at this point. Even though it is a TV game, Memphis does have that name recognition. I would take the points with Memphis, man. If they're going to give you an effort at all for the remainder of the season, it's got to be in a game like this. South Florida's a 6.5-point road favorite here. 78% of the tickets are on them. Public on South Florida here. It'll be a TV game where the public might get involved because, South Florida, they're in the bracketologies, man. And everybody's talking about how they might be like potentially an upset team, a team that might pull off an upset in the tournament. Well, they got to make the tournament first. We don't know if they're going to win the American. But, yeah, I mean, they seem to be kind of a hyped team right now. They are the best team in this conference for sure. But Memphis is not, like, talent-wise, Memphis is not as bad as their record looks. 70% of the cash coming back in on Memphis. Memphis has had some injury issues this year, too. But I think, yeah, if Memphis is going to give you anything, it's going to be in that game. So that's the way I would lean. And then we have CBS Sports at 9 p.m. We got Kennesaw State at UTEP. I don't know why this game is on TV either. This game is pretty bad. I think UTEP is trying to avoid missing the conference tournament, probably. I don't even know, man. I don't think these teams have played each other at all this year. For a team like Kennesaw, who's in Georgia, it's going to be really weird to go on the road to El Paso, I think. Kennesaw hasn't been in this conference for that long either, so it's kind of a weird travel spot for them. They've won 4 games in a row. They beat Liberty and then didn't suffer a letdown. They won against Delaware in their final home game. Maybe the letdown comes here against a bad UTEP team. New Mexico State on deck for them, who is, I think, still better than people think they are. UTEP is not their final home game, though, because they do play Jacksonville State, but they've lost 4 games in a row. 3 of them are on the road. The last time they were at home, they did play really well against Liberty and lost the game, and they actually they've had some good games in here, man. They actually won the previous 2 home games. They played well on the road against Sam Houston there, so this UTEP team is not like a total doormat here. I mean, most of the teams in this conference just aren't that great, and I think it's a big deal for UTEP to have a big CBS Sports game like this. So I would lean UTEP in this one. Kennesaw down from 3.5 to 2. It looks really, really easy to lay points with Kennesaw, man. Not laying that many points. Basically just pick the winner. That looks way too easy. 86% of the tickets are on Kennesaw. 79% of the cash on UTEP. I would lean to UTEP in that one. All right. Keeping it going, man. What else we got? Jacksonville State just played really close against Liberty, so I think they're probably in a hangover spot after that Liberty game. That was their conference. That was their final home game too, so that was a big deal for Jacksonville State. They fell just short of Liberty. Now they're playing New Mexico State, but New Mexico State, one of the games they did manage to win was at Jacksonville State, so Jacksonville State does have a little bit of a road revenge angle here. So they might still show up for this, and that's one of the reasons why I don't want New Mexico State here. Although New Mexico State is the better team, they're laying points, and it looks like they shouldn't be because their record is way worse. So the public is not going to want New Mexico State. And I keep telling you how underrated New Mexico State is. It's just that every single game, it seems to be that they're on the wrong side of the free throw disparity, which is ridiculous. But New Mexico State, they're coming back home. They did win the last home game against UTEP and almost beat Liberty at home before that. So it's not like they're a horrible home team, but you're asking them to win by margin here. We'll see if they can do it. Coming back home, this is not their final home game. And they did already win this matchup on the road, like I said. I would lean to Mexico State, but I don't think I can get there with it. And it's already up from 4.5 to 6. 78% of tickets, 96% of the cash on them. I would lay it if I was going to play it. Because Jacksonville State just had that close game against Liberty, but I don't think I could do it. All right, and then my final game, which I think will be the last game I'll talk about here for the day in the college basketball segment here, which has been a long segment. We're going to go another sandwich here. We're going to take our old pals at Long Beach State, who I think have treated me all right this year when I played them. We're going to the Walter Pyramid, baby. They literally play in a pyramid that only seats like 5,000 people, but it's a weird venue. Although, obviously, the teams in this conference are used to it because they play there every year. But we're going to fade UC Davis in this one, man. Now, looking at the conference standings, UC Davis has something to play for, man. They're playing for seeding. Yeah, I know. But I think that's part of the reason why UC Davis is going to be overvalued in this game. Long Beach, I don't think they can make the tournament. I think the Big West drops their bottom three, and it's already guaranteed that that's Long Beach, Riverside, and Bakersfield. They're all out of the tournament already. So, but you might say, well, that means Long Beach has nothing to play for. I disagree, because this is their final home game, and they know they only have one game left, and they have to go to fucking Hawaii to play that game. I think they're going to show up for their final home game, man. The last time they were at home, they played pretty well against Northridge, although they lost the game, but they've been decently competitive at home, man. I think I gave you Long Beach against Hawaii, and they covered against Hawaii at home. So this team has been all right at home. And that's what we're getting here. And they have momentum because Long Beach just broke a long losing streak, man. They've lost countless games in a row. I don't even know how many that is. I can't even count. They finally won against a bad Bakersfield team. That's good, man. I think it's good when you break, you're losing momentum like that. Even if it was an upset, I know it was. I was a mild 3.5, or no, it wasn't. They were a 3.5 point favorite. Holy shit. That's crazy, dude, that Bakersfield is that much worse. Yeah, they are really the worst team in this conference. Wow. But anyway, yeah, that's good for Long Beach because they broke their momentum. It's not a game that's going to, make them overconfident. They broke their losing momentum. This is their final home game where I think they're going to go all out for this. I think this is their senior night because their last home game was 3 games ago. And they get a chance to play spoiler-ish, and they get to play a revenge role, an avenging role, because UC Davis beat them already at UC Davis by 17. So I like how this sets up for Long Beach quite a bit, man. Meanwhile, UC Davis, first of all, it looks really easy to play UC Davis here, doesn't it? Basically, pick the winner here. Yeah. With the team with the way better record. Look at what UC Davis is coming off of. They just almost beat Hawaii at home. That was a close game against Hawaii, I'm pretty sure. They were within like a couple of scores late in the game here. Hawaii was winning the whole game, but UC Davis got to within 1 basket late in the game, took them right to the wire pretty much, and they have UC Irvine on deck. So this game is sandwiched in between the top 2 teams in the Big West who are that, they're the top 2 teams standings-wise and in power ratings. Yeah, this is a major sandwich spot, I think, man. And that was their final home game against Hawaii where they went all out, man. UC Davis will be in the conference tournament. I don't think they care that much about which one of these seeds they get, man. Pretty unlikely still at this point that they're going to get one of the, top 4 seeds, which would mean they would get an extra bye or whatever. But, yeah, we're going with Long Beach in this one. UC Davis is up to a 2-point favorite, like I said, but 57% of tickets and 76% of the cash on Long Beach. So the money looks like it is coming in on Long Beach. This one I don't think the public is getting involved in, so this one you might need to play sooner. Grab the points with Long Beach there. All right. And then I guess Cal Poly and UC Irvine is a little bit interesting because UC Irvine actually lost at Cal Poly earlier this year, believe it or not, but they're coming off a big game against Santa Barbara. So UC Irvine actually might take Cal Poly seriously for that reason, but they are coming off 3 huge games in a row against UC San Diego, who's really moved up again, Northridge and Santa Barbara getting wins against both of those teams. So I guess there is an argument they're in kind of a letdown spot here, but I think they should show up against a team that they know beat them earlier this year. Cal Poly just lost a 4-game win streak against UC San Diego. They probably will still show up for a game against Irvine, though. I don't know. I just thought it was an interesting handicap. It's a difficult handicap. Irvine at 9.5 here. 89% of tickets, only 70% of the cash on Irvine. So the money is leaning towards Cal Poly again there. I don't know, man. I could see Irvine getting that thing and winning that, but Irvine does play slow style game. Not slow as in Cal Poly slow, which stands for San Luis Obispo, which is where Cal Poly is located. Pretty stupid that that's in their name. I guess there's another Cal Poly somewhere. I don't know. Not in Division I, there isn't. But But anyway, yeah, Irvine, because they're going to probably try to slow the game down a bit. Cal Poly tries to go way fast. I don't know which tempo is going to win out. Probably the Irvine slowness will win out. So I don't quite want to deal with that game. But, the market read is saying to take the points for what that's worth. All right, let's go to NHL here. We have Toronto at the Rangers. I don't have anything in the NHL or the NBA today. So I'm going to try to get this done, though. Toronto is coming off, they haven't won since before the Olympic break, man. They've lost every game since then, and they're coming off 2 straight overtime games, and they're on a back-to-back. They're playing a third game in 4 days now, with both of the first 2 games going to shootouts. They're at least staying in the New York, New Jersey area here because they just lost at New Jersey, but I don't know, man. I don't love playing on teams that are in back-to-backs and just don't have any rest. But you might still get an effort out of them. And, of course, they're playing at Madison Square Garden where we know the Rangers are terrible. The Rangers lost here again on Monday to Columbus, another overtime game. But the Rangers have way more rest, although that will be factored into the line. But I think I would have to lean to the Rangers here, man. I mean, both teams are coming off kind of bad losses. Rangers are up from -110 to -130, although I know the Rangers, I basically never want to play them when they're at home at this point because they're so horrendous there. 70% of the tickets, 74% of the cash on the Rangers. I think the actual money is coming in on the Rangers side, and I would agree with it, but you're having to pay a little bit of an extra price, I think, because of the rest edge that they have there, so there's no way I'm going to touch that game. Utah at Philadelphia. Utah just beat Washington to start their road trip. Now they're coming into Philadelphia here. I don't see it as being a spot that I could really gather anything from, like looking at that situational spot there. For Philadelphia, they just won at Toronto in a shootout. They have multiple days off, so they're the more rested team, although they are coming back home. But it was only from a 1-game road trip to Toronto, so I don't think it's one of those return home spots where you're going to be totally distracted or anything like that. This is one where I would look to the market because I don't have any situational read on this at all. What's interesting is that the market is telling you Utah's a significantly better team. They're up from -120 to -127 despite being on the road. 77% of tickets, 92% of the cash on Utah. So the money is saying Utah there. I guess I'll agree with it. I'll agree with the market in that one, but I don't really have a strong reason to besides the market. But, I incorporate market reading into my handicapping, but mostly go with situational stuff. You got to factor in everything. I factor in numbers a little bit, too. There's an ESPN hockey doubleheader here. The first game is Buffalo and Pittsburgh. It's an interesting game, although I think both teams are not as good as their records look. Buffalo, I think, probably is the more legit team than Pittsburgh, though. Buffalo, look at this run of games, though. They just won at Florida, won at Tampa Bay, blew them out, in fact. They came back home, and they still won again against Vegas. Now they're got to go back out on the road to Pittsburgh. It looks like a pretty bad spot for Buffalo, man. At some point, they're going to have a letdown. But maybe it's not going to be here because they did just lose to Pittsburgh the last game before the Olympic break. Pittsburgh embarrassed them in Buffalo 5-2. And it's a short trip, at least, from Buffalo to Pittsburgh. So, I don't know. Maybe you'll still get an effort there. But Pittsburgh's coming off a loss at Boston. They had smashed Vegas the game before that. I liked Boston in that game against Pittsburgh. My Bruins did get the job done. Pittsburgh, now back at home, hosting an ESPN game. I would lean to Pittsburgh here probably, but the money's coming in on Buffalo. And like I said, the odds makers are telling you Buffalo is the better team, as they're a favorite on the road here. They're up from -1 or down from -115 to -112. They're a bit of a public side, 77% of tickets, 85% of the cash on them. But in this one, I do think the situation is a little bit worse for Buffalo. I think I would look Pittsburgh in that one as the home dog, but not a strong opinion. Florida at Columbus. Florida is on a bad stretch right now, man. They have more losses than wins at this point. They've lost 3 straight. Horrible loss to New Jersey on Tuesday, 5-1. Florida was a road favorite there. I expected a lot better out of them in that game. I think you're going to get a focused team from Florida in this one, man. They're still the back-to-back defending champs, and they've lost a bunch of games in a row, including just getting upset on the road. That's not something we're used to seeing out of this Florida team. even though they're not as good this year. Columbus is staying at home, but they are playing a third game in 4 days. I mean, sure, they'll get up for a game against Florida, but I think if you're going to look at a game like this and you're going to get a focused effort out of the better team, I don't know. I kind of like Florida in this one, but the money's not agreeing with me. Florida's a public side, which is not good. 83% of the tickets, 78% of the cash on them. Columbus down from minus 115 to minus 109 here. So the market read is saying Columbus. I slightly disagree with it in that one, but, that one's not going to be anything I want to do anything with. Boston at Nashville. The Bruins are coming off that win over Pittsburgh. That was a nice win for the Bruins. Now they got to go down to Nashville. I don't know how much attention they're going to pay to Nashville. They did beat them at home in late January, but it went into overtime. Nashville seems like they do tend to play well, specifically against the Bruins recently for whatever reason. Nashville is playing a third game in 4 days, fourth game in 6 days, by the way, with travel between all of them, but they've lost 3 games in a row. The travel from Columbus isn't really that bad. I would lean Nashville in this game back at home. Not a strong opinion, but the money seems like it's agreeing, unfortunately, as a Bruins fan. Down from minus 115 to minus 111 at Nashville is. So the odds makers are telling you the Bruins are just the slightly better team here. 62% of the tickets, 81% of the cash on Nashville. It seems like the market always gives respect to Nashville, though, and I don't think they're as good as the market keeps telling as the market wants them to be, as the market keeps telling you they are. The Bruins are not a good road team, though, so keep that in mind. Nashville is okay at home. The Bruins are much, much better at home. Tampa Bay at Winnipeg. Tampa Bay just took another loss, dude. I expected a much better effort. This Tampa Bay team is really good. I'm shocked that they got absolutely demolished by Minnesota. 5-1. I think they're the better team over Minnesota, and they were a favorite on the road there. I expected a lot better of an effort there, and now we're looking at Tampa Bay losing the last 2 games by a combined score of 11-3 with Vasilevsky in net in both games. That's insane. I think they're such a good team, you got to expect they're going to bounce back after being embarrassed like that. But Winnipeg is starting to play a little bit better with Hellebuck back there. I don't know if he's going to be in net tonight or not. They do have a day off. They're staying at home. They just barely got by Chicago at home. They're going to show up for a game against Tampa, though, and they did just lose at Tampa in late January, 4-1. So I do think Winnipeg will show up in this game, too. So this might not be the game where Tampa turns it around, man. 95% of the tickets and 98% of the cash on the Lightning. They're a very public side, up from minus 170 to minus 185. I like Winnipeg in that one slightly, although I don't know, man, because Tampa, they're the better team in a spot where you got to be in an embarrassed, angry mood. So, I mean, if you're going to play Winnipeg, I think it would be like a puck line situation there just to stay within the number and get, good goaltending, because Winnipeg does at least play close games a lot of the time. All right, Ottawa at Calgary. This was probably the closest one to making my card. Ottawa blew it for us here on the show the other night against Edmonton. It was a big effort, man. So I think it's a bad spot for them coming off of that. They had Edmonton completely on the ropes, up 4-2 in the third period, up 4-3 with a minute and a half to go, and then they lose in overtime against a good team as a road dog. That is brutal. Now they're coming off of that game, and they're playing Calgary. I would have to lean to Calgary in this one. Calgary just got absolutely embarrassed. But they were in a return home spot from kind of a quick-ish road trip that took them to the Pacific Coast, though. That road trip return spot a lot of times is tough, man, even though you got to think they should get up for a game against Dallas. They got absolutely crushed by Dallas, losing 6-1. So I think Calgary will give you a much better effort here. Staying at home off an embarrassing loss like that, this has to be Calgary or pass. You're getting a really nice price on it, too. Ottawa is all the way up from minus 145 to minus 171, and all the money's coming in on Ottawa, and I have no idea why. 50% of the tickets, 92% of the cash on Ottawa. There's no way. Calgary, I think, is the best hockey lead of the day, which I don't think it's strong enough to be on my card, but yeah. That's the way I would look. You're going to get a nice line on Calgary there. I would split it, probably put part of it on the puck line and part of it on the money line probably there. Or if you really want to be ballsy, you could just go money line on that thing. And pay attention to who the goalie is going to be there. It will probably be Ullmark. I would think that if Allmark wasn't in net, Ottawa would not be that big of a favorite because he is their better goalie, obviously. So, and then we have the Islanders at the Kings. The Islanders played last night, and they got absolutely obliterated. That should have been on my card. I gave you Anaheim as a lean on the show yesterday, and Anaheim absolutely destroyed the Islanders 5-1. Anaheim's really good at home. Now, the Islanders use Rittich again because I think they were preparing on using Sorokin in this game for whatever reason. They're going to use their better goalie in the second of the back-to-backs. That's one thing to consider, that the Islanders will have their better goalie in net here. Now, the back-to-back is somewhat mitigated by the fact that they're only going like 30 minutes up the street from Anaheim to L.A. here. But they did just lose a long win streak, and they hadn't lost since before the break. So a lot of times when you're not used to losing and you take a loss, it will hang you over into the next game. So the Islanders might be in a hangover spot. The Kings, it's tough to say whether they've been playing better or not with their fired coach there. I think they only played one game, actually, since they fired their coach, and they lost 4-2 at home to Colorado. So how can you really tell? I mean, they actually played pretty well in that game, actually, believe it or not. Colorado put in an empty netter at the end of that game. So that the Kings were within one goal late in that game of against Colorado. So they did actually play pretty well, I think. So the fired coach phenomenon might be helping LA here in this one. But they're coming off a big game against Colorado, so I don't love the spot. But this is the second of the ESPN doubleheader here, so they are hosting a TV game. The money is, the market is strongly indicating on the Kings. They dropped from -155 to -131. 80% of the tickets are on the Islanders. I think nobody's going to want the Kings here, from the recreational better standpoint. 73% of the cash on the Kings, so the money is coming in on the Kings. I can't do it after they play close against Colorado, but it looks like they might have a spark with their new interim coach there. The Kings are also really not a good home team, though, so that worries me as well about playing the Kings as a home team. I will not do it very often. They're, in fact, really bad at home, 9-14-7. Islanders are actually pretty good on the road, 18-12-3, so things to keep in mind there. And then we have NBA to finish it off here. I think we have about 9 NBA games here. With an Amazon Prime doubleheader with a couple of the better games of the night. Dallas is at Orlando to start off the slate here. Not one of the Prime games. Dallas has lost 4 games in a row. Now, we got to keep an eye on whether Cooper Flagg is coming back or not. He hasn't been back yet. So if Cooper Flagg comes back in this game, I talk about that, the reverse injured player spot, where you're going to get some value probably playing against Dallas if Flagg comes back, because the line will have to move towards Dallas, and Dallas might take a little while to get the chemistry back with him and whatever. So if that happens, maybe Orlando's worth a look in this one. Orlando did just beat Washington easily, but whatever. They're staying at home. But I think you will get an effort out of Dallas, though, because they keep losing, and they just got blown out by that Charlotte team. So, yeah, it's a game that I probably wouldn't want anything to do with either side anyway. Magic are up from 8.5 to 9, which is kind of indicating that I don't think Flagg is playing here, but I don't know. 63% of the tickets and only 53% of the cash on the Magic. So right now the market read is saying to take the points with Dallas. And I guess if you do it now, you have the chance that Flagg comes back, and then if he does, you will have line value on it, at least because the line will drop, but not a game I want to touch. We got to get really, really we got to be selective in these late season NBA games, man, because so many teams that are out of it start kind of resting their players, and it becomes chaotic, and you don't know how to handicap the games anymore. Utah at Washington might be one of those games. Utah just played 2 really close games against Denver, almost beating them, and then they went to Philadelphia and played really well again. Although I think it was a game where Paul George, not the George that's there for Utah, Keontae George, he had a good game for Utah. Paul George and I think Embiid were both not playing in that game for Philly. Still, Utah almost pulled off another upset. So they're coming off 2 games where they almost pulled off upsets, and now they're on a back-to-back. So it is a bad spot for Utah here, man, and they're kind of rolling with a thin rotation. They got a lot of injuries, although Washington does too. Washington's coming back home from 1 road game against Orlando. They have a day off. They're playing a 3rd game in 4 days, but with 1 trip to Orlando in between, I would have to look towards Washington in this one. But you're laying 3.5 points with them now. They're up from a pick'em to 3.5. If it was still at a pick'em, I'd probably put that on my card. If you want to do put it in a money line parlay them on the money line with Who was the other team I recommended doing that with? I forget. It was some college basketball team in one of the tournaments. I can't remember which, though. But yeah, I mean, I think the Wizards will get the win here, but I don't think I want to lay 3.5 with a team that also has basically nobody playing, and it's really questionable. The public's not going to want to do it either, though. But there's a reason why the Wizards are laying 3.5. I think some of it is because the Jazz are on a back-to-back, though, so I think that's influencing the line a little bit. 59% of the tickets, 85% of the cash on the Wizards. I'd still lay it with the Wizards if I was going to play the game, but I think at that price, it's a little bit too much. I wish, I'd seen it earlier and jumped on it at a pick'em price, but we'll pass on it. Brooklyn at Miami. This game could be a zigzag. Brooklyn, these teams just played on Tuesday in the same game. The line was about the same. It was like Miami 12.5, and Miami won easily, 124-98, winning by close to 30 points in that game. So it could be a zigzag, or maybe now Miami, they won't really have focus in this next game because they just beat Brooklyn and everything worked. Nothing worked for Brooklyn. So maybe Brooklyn will give you something here and we'll make the adjustments. Miami does have Charlotte and then Detroit up next. Those are bigger games. Charlotte tomorrow. So I would zigzag this and I would lean to the Nets, but it's not that strong of an opinion for me. The Heat are actually getting some of the money right now. They're down from 13.5 to 12.5. So line value-wise, I think it's probably there because they're laying about the same amount that they were in the other game 2 days ago. 69% of the tickets, 79% of the cash on the Heat. So the money is coming in on the Heat. But I would disagree. That game would be Brooklyn plus the points or pass for me. Of course, you don't have to worry about the effort that Brooklyn's going to give you. But I think after getting smashed by that same team, I think that will motivate them at least a little bit. Golden State at Houston. Still don't know what's going on with Steph Curry. He's not back, and he's not even on the injury report anymore. So I don't know if that means he's shut down for the season. Golden State, they might not even make the playoffs because the West is so good. Playoffs? What?
Playoffs? Don't talk about it. Playoffs? You kidding me? Playoffs? I just hope we can win a game. Another game.
So, yeah, Golden State, they are coming off losing both games at home against the LAs, the Lakers and the Clippers, starting a road trip on TV. Maybe they'll give you an effort here, man. I mean, a lot of times teams will give you a good effort to start the road trip. They're playing at Houston. Houston's a good team. Houston is returning home from a road trip as well, so the situational spot is not great. They've been on the road for a week. Houston went to Orlando, Miami, Washington, so at least it wasn't a West Coast trip for them. But still, a road trip return, I talk about that. A lot of times the team won't be focused when they return home from a road trip. They got stuff to do at home. They've had 2 days off, but still a lot of times having those days off will put you in a situation where you're getting used to being at home again and whatever. They might still get up for it because it is a prime game. It is against Golden State, but it is Golden State without Curry and without Butler. So, I don't know. The Rockets are laying 8.5 here. 71% of tickets, 74% of the cash on them. I'd probably still lean towards taking the points of the Warriors. We have a pretty low total in the two teens here, 214. Which, in the NBA, a lot of points get scored anyway, but that is a low NBA total at the very least. But based on the situation where you have a team starting a road trip against a team returning from one, I usually always am going to lean to the team starting the road trip. So slight lean to the Warriors for me in that one. Toronto at Minnesota. Toronto's coming off that tough game, man. It looks like they got blown out by the Knicks, but they didn't. I'm pissed. Toronto was hanging around in that game for most of the game, and they were still down 4 with 4 minutes left. I'm pissed about that because that was a play I gave out on the show. And yes, I have been betting these games over the last few days, so I'm trying to win some money, man. It's been up and down over the last few days. I need some more income, baby. Toronto's now going on the road for one game to Minnesota. They should get up for a game against the Wolves because the Wolves are good, but, coming off that close call against the Knicks that was a lot closer than the final makes it look well, first of all, that does mean Toronto played better than it looks, but it also does mean they're coming off a really tough effort there. Now, Toronto is better on the road, so that is something to consider in this game. Minnesota just barely got by Memphis, so I do think Minnesota's staying at home. I think they will show up for this one. They were coming off a nice win against Denver and returning home from a road trip, so I think I gave you guys a lean on Memphis in that game, and bad spot for Minnesota. Memphis was able to show up there. Memphis has actually been putting in some effort recently. Let's see here. So in this game, I would probably lay it with the Timberwolves here. The money is completely disagreeing with me, though. They're down from 6.5 to 6. But I think based on the spot that I just showed you, I think I would lay it. But I don't want to go against a market read like this really either. 70% of the tickets and 53% of the cash on Minnesota. So they're a public side with less of the money on them. But based on the spot, I would lean to the T-Wolves. Detroit at San Antonio is actually probably the best game of the night, and it's not on Amazon Prime. I think these might be the 1 seeds right now in their respective conferences. Maybe the Thunder still are in the West. Detroit's coming off a tough game, though, against Cleveland. A big Eastern Conference matchup, man. And now they're going to go to San Antonio. Not the easiest spot for Detroit here, man. Coming off a big Eastern Conference game where Cleveland got revenge against them. San Antonio just absolutely housed Philadelphia by 40, so they might be feeling pretty good about themselves, though. But they're returning home from a long road trip, and they started that road trip by winning at Detroit. So there is a little bit of a road revenge angle here for Detroit, where San Antonio might not fully focus against Detroit after they beat them on the road to start the road trip. It was a successful road trip for them, and it was a long one. Over a week, and I talk about that. When a team returns home from a road trip, a lot of times they will not show up with enough focus in that game, even though it is against a good Detroit team. I would have to fade San Antonio in this one, man. I can't quite get there with Detroit coming off that other really big game, the game prior to this. But yeah, I think I would have to play Detroit here. It's a little bit of a road revenge angle in quick succession, so Detroit might be the team to make the adjustments. The money's coming in on the Spurs. I don't really agree with it, obviously. They're up to 3.5. 64% of tickets, 84% of the cash on the Spurs, but I would lean Pistons in that game, plus the points. Chicago at Phoenix. I don't know, we should be looking at who's playing for each team here, but I think for the most part, the lines aren't really, the lines don't, look like they're out of whack or anything like that. So I'm like, okay, you're probably getting pretty much the team's, full roster or whatever there. Maybe not in this game, though. The Bulls at Phoenix. The Bulls just played pretty decently against Oklahoma City, man. Now, they are starting a road trip. The Bulls have at least given you some effort in the last few games, though it wasn't enough to cover for me against Portland. But the Bulls, they have been putting in some effort. They are starting a road trip. Sometimes you will be focused to start a road trip, but it's going to be tough for them coming off that game against OKC, dude. That was a big game, and it was fairly close with 4 minutes to go in that game. So I don't know what kind of effort they're going to be able to give you here in this one. Phoenix, I think they do have Devin Booker back, but he didn't play well in the last game. So I think Phoenix is actually in a decent spot. They just went on the road to Sacramento. It wasn't the greatest spot because they just beaten the Lakers the game before that. Phoenix, they still probably covered, though. Well, I don't know if they did. They won by 11. Let me see. Yeah, they covered. They were 9.5-point favorites, so they did still cover at Sacramento. Now, Devin Booker came back in that game, so the star player came back. And, I like to look at a team the second game the star player is back, because a lot of times the star player, when he comes back after a long layoff, he won't be up to speed right away. The team has to reassume their other roles. And you can see Booker didn't make any of the stat leaders. He didn't make the stat leader sheet. I looked at the box score. He played, but he didn't have that great of a game. But now that he has a game under his belt, I think you're going to get a better effort out of Booker here. And yes, I know Brooks is still out for Phoenix, but they've been playing pretty well, man. Even with their injuries in play there, they've been playing pretty well. So I actually like Phoenix in this game. I think it's going to be tough for the Bulls to come off that other game. The money is saying the Bulls here, but I think I would lean towards laying it with Phoenix. This Phoenix team they're pretty good, man, and I think people still don't really respect them. The market is respecting them. They're minus 10.5, 63% of the tickets, 84% of the cash on the Bulls. Money kind of coming into the Bulls here, like I said, but with the Bulls having to play the Thunder, they played the Thunder fairly well, and now turn around, go to Phoenix, plus Phoenix second game with Booker back. I think Phoenix is the side on that one. Lakers at Denver is the late prime game at 10 p.m. on Amazon Prime. The Lakers are coming off not playing particularly well against the Pelicans. They did get the win. Now they're going on the road, although it's only a single road game. And the Lakers historically have not done particularly well at Denver in recent years, so they just seem to not match up well. I guess, a coastal team, like a sea-level team going into elevation doesn't really jive too well with them. Denver is the better team as well. The Lakers, I know they're the Lakers. I know they have star power, but they're just not a good defense, man. But they will be focused in this spot, I think, coming off a lackluster game against the Pelicans with momentum coming into this. Denver is coming off a bad game too, though. They went to Utah and barely won the game, and now they're back home. They've had a few days off. I think they're going to give you an effort here against the Lakers, so I think both teams should give you an effort here. The money's all coming in on the Lakers, but I actually kind of disagree with it. If you're going to get an effort out of the Nuggets, I think they're probably the way to look. They're up from 4.5 to 5 here. 65% of the tickets are on the Nuggets, but 84% of the cash on the Lakers. So the money is saying the Lakers in this game. Again, I don't really think I agree with that, though. As far as who's in and who's out here, Aaron Gordon looks like he's still out. Still missing time for Denver here. So Denver does have a few more injuries to deal with here in this game here, but they're still Denver. They still got Jokic. They still got most of their team there. They're still playing pretty well. Yeah, I mean, I'd probably lean Denver, but not a strong opinion from me. And then we have New Orleans and Sacramento. Now, New Orleans did play pretty well against the Lakers. They were actually close in this game down the stretch, man. In fact, they were winning the game late in the game. They were winning the game with a few minutes to go, with 7-something minutes to go. New Orleans had a 6-point lead in that game, and then they were still within one possession with 2:31 to go. So, you know what? I mean, the Lakers did have a scare, although, well, the Lakers and Denver both had huge scares, but New Orleans just almost upset the Lakers, man. And you know I talk about this. They were 7.5-point dogs. You know, when a team does that and they play really well as a big dog like that, a lot of times you're going to see a flat effort out of them in the next game. So I do like the Kings in this game. The Kings just lost again at home, but it was in a return home spot. And you know I talk about when teams return home from road trips and they don't do well in that first game back, a lot of times they get settled in, they get whatever they need to do done at home, and they play a lot better in the next game. It is also kind of quick revenge because early in February, Sacramento got embarrassed at New Orleans by almost 30 points. But you do have to worry, like, how much of an effort is Sacramento going to give you. But the fact that they played really well against the Lakers, I think does kind of tell you that the effort is, you know, probably going to be there. Pelicans are up to a 5.5-point road favorite here, which should the Pelicans be that much of a road favorite against anybody? Maybe not. 71% of the tickets on them, 55% of the cash on the Pelicans. The public wants nothing to do with the Kings, but as you can tell from what I'm saying, I would take the Kings in this one if I was going to play it. I think it's actually one of the better leans in the NBA today. I don't love the NBA board, but I think Kings plus the points would be the lean in that one. And who does New Orleans play next? I guess that is the other question. Let me see. It's Phoenix. I mean, that's tomorrow too. You know, I kind of want to add this to my card. Let me see. Phoenix. I mean, they're a pretty good team. They're probably going to be a playoff team. Playoffs. You know, it's getting towards the end of a road trip where teams do start getting a little bit tired sometimes towards the end of the road trip. It's a close call, man. I worry about the effort that you're going to get out of Sacramento here, though. New Orleans is the team that gave you the effort against the Lakers. So did Sacramento give us an effort in this game against Phoenix? Let's see. I mean, kind of. I mean, they were in that game in the second half. They're actually winning the game in the third quarter. So I guess, yeah, you could say, yeah, I guess Sacramento did give you kind of an effort in that one, even though it was a return home spot. I'll leave it off, but this is really close to being a play, man. I'm considering it. I like Sacramento there. But that's going to do it, man. Long show today. The plays that I have are Iowa plus the points in college basketball. We're focused on college right now, man. In Long Beach plus the points in college basketball. Keeping it a bit selective today, but that's going to do it, man. Learn to Toad on Twitter. You can subscribe to me there. That helps me out, of course. I appreciate it. Jeffrey. I've seen Jeffrey on Twitter a little bit, but he hasn't been coming into these lives anymore. He probably can't because, I don't know, I'm assuming he works or whatever. But shout out to Jeffrey. Shout out to everybody. I apologize for being a dick. Well, not really, but yes. Garrett, Kyle, thanks for hanging out, man. Garrett, you brought other people to my show, too. I can't be mad at you, man. I'm mad about the Celtics fucking losing, so I get into a rage over it. You're poking the bear, baby. poking the leprechaun. But yes, subscribe to me on Twitter, Learn to Toad on Instagram. You can get the short betting content there. Like, subscribe, give me the good replies on the channel here. That helps me out. Boost this channel, baby. If you missed my show that I did last night, I talked about more of the conference tournaments, some of which are starting today. It was a shorter video. It's like a half hour, so you can go check that one out. I'll be doing another one of those in a few days, probably to finish off like the small conference tournament ones, and then I'll do one for like the big conferences, depending on how they line up. I don't know. Some of them might start earlier than others, so I don't know. We'll see how I want to do that. But yeah, it's probably going to be 2 more episodes like that. So be on the lookout. Listen on audio as well. That helps me out. You can review on audio here. This show is on audio, Spotify, Apple. Got to put last night's show still up there before I put this one up. Then we got Covered in Uke. It's my Uke channel on YouTube. Boost that thing up. Like, subscribe over there. And then, I've been thinking about adding another YouTube channel that I have to build from nothing, where I talk about pop culture. Gets a lot of views, man. So, like, people like to hear people's opinions on things. I like it as well, so I might start doing that. Toad's Takes, or I'm just going to talk about, I don't even know what, movies, music, who knows, TV. We'll see. I might start doing something like that, too. I'm going to have 1 million channels, and if one takes off, then good. Before I get banned from everything. No, hopefully that doesn't happen. And then, Patreon. Patreon.com/LearnToToad. Throw me some support there. That helps me out as well. You can find my links. They're all on Twitter. Go to my link tree. It's on my Twitter bio. All the links are there. Also including Losercast, the comedy show that I'm on. So check that out too. That's going to do it. JW Texas, is that what that is? What's up? Of course it's Texas. You got the Longhorns. What's up, brother? I'm about to get out of here, man. So, but thanks for checking out the show. I appreciate it. You have no money? Oh, man. Oh, thank you, sir. Thank you, guys. Garrett, I hope I didn't offend Garrett too much. I think he'll be back, though. I'm going to ask sometimes, man, especially if you're poking, my Celtics there, man. Dude, I'm a Boston fan. What do you want from me? I get enraged. You know what I mean? That's how we are. That's how we fucking are here, kid. We get fucking pissed. If you badmouth the C's, you're not going to badmouth the C's here in this stream. Get out of here, kid. All right, that's going to do it. Let's get some wins today. Peace for now, guys. Let's get these wins, man, on whatever I have. Iowa plus the points and Long Beach plus the points for JW there. Those are my plays today. I know if you don't watch my show often, you're going to think I'm an insane person. But, yes, I'm actually going to put money on those. Let's get some wins. Peace.